What's going on, you guys? Keith Carnes here, and it is officially Monday, at least as of this recording. So today is Monday, March 11th, and I'm trying to upload every Monday, so this is week number 2 in a row. So far, a success. Today we're talking about a subject that I really enjoy talking about because I think it's just so interesting. It's, an old case, very old. In fact, I think the first attack turned 50 last year. I believe the first attack took place in 1968. So 50 years and counting since this tragic set of events happened at the hands of a madman that called himself the Zodiac Killer. Now, today's subject, I've talked about the Zodiac in the past. I did a video on him in the Unsolved, and I think I did more than one video on him. Don't quote me on that. But in the past, we've talked about everything else, but pretty much everything about him. But as far as what I want to focus on now is last April, the East Area Rapist, aka the original Night Stalker, aka he had a bunch of different names, was finally apprehended. He was active, I believe, in the 70s. I'm not real familiar with that case, so forgive me if I'm wrong about when he was active, but East Area Rapist was finally captured, not even really that far from where I grew up, which is kind of crazy. Citrus Heights, I'm very familiar with that from my childhood. And he was captured as a result of DNA testing, and this has really brought up a bunch of alarms. Well, not alarms, but this has really rose a lot of eyebrows, like, hey, if they captured this sicko that was, running for decades, and people were starting to lose hope that he would ever be captured, could this breathe new life into the Zodiac case? And then after, not long after D'Angelo, aka the East Area Rapist, was captured as a result of this DNA testing, it was confirmed that they had sent samples for the Zodiac. So they're hoping to do the same thing that they did with the East Area Rapist. They're hoping to also capture the Zodiac in the same way, which brings us to the topic of the video today. Will the Zodiac ever be caught? Now, this, of course, is not something that I could actually really answer full out, because I don't know, I know probably just about as much as you know, unless you're one of the lucky people that's getting to investigate this case very closely. Before I continue, this cannot be ignored. I know that I have an odd dog blanket behind me. That is because it was an ugly brown beat up box that's holding the Mistake of Fallout 76 helmet. I bought the Power Edition like an idiot, so please forgive that. That's why that's there. Anyway, continuing. I thought it looked better than a brown box. Anyway, so the biggest thing with the Zodiac is that he got really lucky in a lot of different ways, and the main way that he was able to get so lucky was because the insane stupidity and just outright ridiculousness of the police and investigators involved at the time. There was different stories that I heard, like the Lake Berryessa attack, for example, when Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell were stabbed multiple times. Cecilia, unfortunately, did not survive. Brian Hartnell, however, did survive. They were laying on the lake, on like kind of that little island area, and on a blanket, like they would, like you would do. You'd lay on a blanket so you're not on the grass, and that's also where they were stabbed on. They were tied, they were kind of hog-tied behind themselves, and they were stabbed multiple times in their back. Cecilia received some to her front because she was struggling as he was stabbing her, of course. I couldn't imagine the amount of pain that poor woman went through, as well as Brian went through. Wow, voice crack. So anyway, that is a huge, big evidence spot right there. The Zodiac leaned down. Zodiac probably touched the blanket at one point or another. Of course, he had gloves on, but he probably did come in contact with that blanket to bend down, maybe to also get back up. And he was very close proximity to the victims, because stabbing is a very up close and personal thing, and he took his time doing it as well. So this blanket that they were laid on, that I'm sure was blood soaked as well, to maybe a degree, was a very, very important and vital piece of evidence that the police should have handled with extreme care. The FBI should have handled with extreme care. They should have been very, very careful with it. But unfortunately, what happened? These freaking morons, for the lack of a better word, these morons take this evidence, this precious evidence that probably could have maybe had something usable to find out who this killer was. They took it, rolled it up, and threw it in the back of a police cruiser. I don't even know what to say about that. I think that speaks for itself. Holy macaroni, how stupid can one be? And I know some people argue and they say, well, DNA wasn't a thing back then and that kind of stuff. It's like, bro, they had the ability to do fingerprinting. There's no excuse for them to roll up something that vital and throw it in the back of a police car like it was just a piece of trash that they found at the scene that had nothing to do with the scene. I mean, the fact that they threw it in there just shows me that they just did not really give a shit. They just were not paying attention. And number two thing that also helped the Zodiac get away with what he did, excuse me, was one of the first responders went and talked to Cecilia Shepard before she passed away, and she had reported to him that she had gotten a decent look at the killer without the hood on. You know, the famous, now infamous executioner hood that the Zodiac wore during this attack. She had told him that he looked like he had kind of like short, brown, curly hair, and that she kind of described the guy's facial features. Now get this is a kicker. This is a real kick in the head. She tells him this info. So, I mean, if I was to tell you this information after I had been attacked, you would probably be like any normal person, be like, oh, this is big information. I better report this to my superiors. I better, put this in the report. I better make sure that we have a really good description of this guy. Maybe try to get somebody to make a good police sketch of it, of her detellings. He was asked during the interview. This is in the Zodiac Speaking, by the way, if you want to watch it. It's a really good documentary. He was asked by the interviewer, did you report it? And he said no. And the interviewer's like, why? And he said, I didn't really think it was important. Are we living on a different planet here, my dude? Bro, how is that not important? She's telling you what this fucking dude looks like, that nobody knows what he looks like, and you don't think it's important to report it at the time that it happened? What? This is the kind of stuff that happened and this is just two of a pile of things. If you go on the Zodiac subreddit, if you go on a Zodiac Killer website, whatever it's called, if you go to any of these places that list the facts, it is astounding how many mistakes and stupid moves the police and detectives involved in this case made, and it starts to make you really realize how this guy was never apprehended. It's not that this guy was some genius or some criminal mastermind. It's a matter that the people involved were just completely, oh my god, they were just so stupid. I mean, come on. And that's my point, is like, if the Zodiac is never captured, I don't think it's a matter of Zodiac being a mastermind, a criminal mastermind. I don't think it's a matter of anything like that, and I don't think the Zodiac deserves any, like, hey, he beat the cops. I think it's just a matter that the Zodiac was just incredibly lucky, especially with the Paul Stein killing in Presidio Heights. I think he was extremely lucky there. And once again, a horrible lack of intelligence on the behalf of the police and the investigators involved. And as far as my thoughts, do I think this will ever be solved? Obviously, I don't know. I have a feeling like it eventually could be, but this is one of those ones, and I don't like to be a pessimist, but this is one of the ones where I'm kind of like, I honestly don't really think it's gonna happen. But there's a part of me that wants to stay hopeful and say, yeah, maybe. But I kind of lean more towards no because of the stuff like that I read. Like, the amount of evidence that was probably lost just off of the Lake Berryessa attack alone was probably enough for them to maybe get an idea of this person's profile that attacked these two innocent people and has murdered at least 5 people that we know of. He's probably killed more that we don't know of realistically. And the amount of stuff that we have probably lost at the hands of this stupidity on the police department and the investigators involved at the time, it makes it really hard for modern people, police and investigators of today's world, where they're a lot more responsible and reasonable, I guess, where it's making it harder for them to be able to focus and on any kind of evidence, because there's such a lack of evidence. There's just such a lack of stuff. And before anybody possibly puts in the comments below, Arthur Lee Allen is not the Zodiac. He's not the Zodiac. We all need to stop talking about this guy. He's a complete waste of time. People need to take better, all of that effort they're putting into Arthur, and they need to put it in to other suspects. I personally don't think it's a suspect that we know of. I think it's going to be a completely alien name, so to speak, just like it was with the East Area Rapist. Nobody ever had this guy on their radar. And I think that the same thing's going to happen with the Zodiac. All the really, really known ones, like Ross Sullivan, Lawrence Kane. I honestly, even though those two guys are very interesting, you should read up on them if you don't know about them. They're very interesting and good candidates to possibly be a Zodiac suspect. But I honestly would be shocked if it was anybody that we've even heard of. So, this one, I don't really feel good about it being solved. I just don't really think it's going to happen, just because of the amount of evidence that was destroyed at the hands of stupid police and investigators that were not doing their job properly. I hope I'm wrong. This is one that I really want to eat my words on. I will gladly eat them if the Zodiac's apprehended, and if he's dead, at least identified, to give the families some kind of closure, even though if he's dead they can never really get closure because justice will never be served. But regardless of the fact, I think that this is definitely a case that's gonna probably be open for the foreseeable future. I hope I'm wrong. Like I said, I hope I eat those words. I hope I can look back on this video and say, hey, I was wrong, but I don't think so. I really don't. So, anyway, guys, will the Zodiac ever be caught? I personally don't really think it's going to happen. I hope it does happen. I really, really do. Mainly just because the families deserve closure. I don't really care about my own, wanting to know who he is. Of course, it's interesting to find out who this individual was, but more than anything, I think the most important thing is to remember those affected to this day by this horrible individual that committed these atrocities. You know, the survivors, the people that died, that lost their lives over this senseless stuff, just for this individual to get some notoriety, is just really sad. And hopefully it'll get solved soon. So let me know. Don't let me go. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Do you think the Zodiac Killer will ever be identified? Do you think he's ever going to be found? Do you think, and if so, or if not, do you think he's alive? Do you think he's dead? Do you think it's somebody we've ever known, or do you think he's a complete mystery? Do you think he's not even on a police radar? Anyway, guys, this is Keith Carnes. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I will see you guys next week, and you guys can also leave in the comments below if there's a certain subject you want me to talk about. I will gladly do it. Anyway, guys, take it easy. Take care of yourselves. Be well. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.